This podcast is rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Some material may not be suitable for children.
If you're listening to this podcast, you just sat through 5 minutes of ambient sounds with slowly increasing bird chirping noises and some light talking in other languages in the background. That's how we're going to start this podcast. Everyone cool with that?
Cool.
Yeah, that
That's
makes
a cool
sense.
idea.
Seems to fit.
It makes sense. Should just do that. That's
Good.
awesome. Yep.
TC, throw it in there. You can do it.
Yeah.
The Zone of Interest, 2024, Jonathan Glazer movie. This movie won the Grand Prix at the, that award ceremony.
The Palme d'Or or the Cannes.
At the Cannes Film Festival.
At the Cannes.
There you go.
At the Cannes.
So
That's second place, right?
Second place.
The Grand
First
Prix
place,
is second place.
Yeah, the Palme d'Or
is,
was won by Anatomy of a Fall this year. So look at us.
rightfully
Look at us,
so.
John.
Look at us being so
lining
with
up
it,
with the, Yeah, we're so informed and
I
cultured.
wonder,
Yeah,
we should
we
go
are
back
with
and maybe like the last 10 years or so and watch other Palme d'Or films. See if there's some that we haven't seen. It might be kind of nice to do.
We already watched T-Tane, so we got at least one crossed off the list.
I know. Yeah, those sick fucks.
I gotta love how
There
that
you go,
one
John.
a
Now
very
you're speaking
prestigious
my
award.
language. Fucking sick fucks.
It was a great film, though. Still, it was.
So I think what we did last week is we ranked our movies because we said we watched all the Oscar movies, but John had not watched this one, and
Right.
yet he put it at number 4. So let's go to John first and say, does it fit there? Is it higher? Is it lower? What did you think?
I think it fits there, if not higher. So what do I have? I had Anatomy of Fall 1. What did I have? 2 is probably
Poor Things?
Poor Things. I bet 2 is Poor Things. 3 was then probably
American Fiction.
American Fiction.
Yeah.
I'd probably move it up to be tied with Poor Things. It's just a very different film. It is really like I remember TC was saying it's art house. It totally is too, but it's kind of cool because it's art house. Like Poor Things is art house, but then it's a different kind of art house. Poor Things is like black comedy, or not even necessarily that black, but comedy art house, and this is just horrifying art house. Like just again, the use of sound is astonishing. Like I see why it won Best Sound. I mean, it's just fucking and the way it starts off, as you said, it's like
It tells you it's going to be a sound movie immediately,
right? It's telling you, it's getting you ready. Like it's not like I don't know if we've seen films that do an overture, like Lawrence of Arabia, fine, but I don't know if we've seen another film that does this for so long too. There's a good 2-3 minutes, maybe.
At least 3 minutes, I would say.
Right. So of just sound and just you're right. I really do wish I had seen this in the theater though, because I think I would have.
Yeah. I fucked up by not seeing it in the theater.
Yeah,
Because it's hard to pay attention the whole time if you're in your comfortable surroundings.
Right, and you don't want to. And I mean, I think this film would have been even more disturbing. But yeah, I couldn't. It just wasn't playing. So I didn't. But I think the use of sound is astonishing, and I can have a brief book corner because I read a fair amount of the book.
Nice, which
is very different. But the decision, the artistic, this film is like full of artistic decisions. And the decision, other than the sound, the other decision is to decisively not show anything that the horrific images that are going on. And
there's only
the book,
one shot from inside the camp, and it's like a low angle shot of just the guy's face. That's it.
Right. So you see very little. There's the book has several harrowing scenes that they don't necessarily show. They allude to happening, and the movie could have well done this, but the decision to not show any of the actual suffering, not show any of the actual violence, to only let us hear it. It's an amazing decision to make, and it's the whole film, and it comes across like brilliantly. I think you could it's kind of interesting that this is a very complex film though, but you can describe it simply. Like this is the direction it takes. This is what it's going to do to you. And it's going to let you see these people with their normal lives, not having this surrounding them. and preferring this environment. Like that again, it's shocking. Like they want to stay there. This is their slice of heaven. Everything they dreamed of, right? God damn. It's
and you
just,
believe it, right?
Right.
It's like you
It's
don't
well
question
done.
anything
Right.
that's done.
Right. It's astonishing. And I think it's just to, again, as a visionary thing to do, as a I don't know, work of art here of like, this is the direction, this is the what they're going to go for, and they just pull it off so fucking well. It's just, again, it's really amazing. But the effect at the same time is horrifying. And to do that, to have the film be slow, cinematic, lots of picturesque, beautiful shots, everything's so well composed, all these like great camera angle shots of like seeing everything's, you know, a lot of the shots of the foliage that they did, or just the way they composed all the shots, beautifully done. To have that be so calm and peaceful seeming, and have the undertone of the soundtrack the whole time is fucking amazing and terrifying. Again, I can't think of anything else like. I'm sure that there's other films that do a contrast, right? Are going to show you something calm and pretty, but the sound is off or something.
I don't know either. We watch a lot of movies.
Like
This seems pretty damn unique to have like an entire second movie playing unseen in the background the entire time.
Right.
I mean, that's and it wouldn't work in a lot of other contexts either, right? I can't think of another reason you would ever even choose to do that besides like this specific reason.
And they had to like, you know, mix all of it in creatively first. Like they had to be like, all right, we're going to have the fire and the rumble take all the low end.
Yeah.
And we're going to fit the life of the German family somewhere in that middle range. And then we're going to add in the screams and yelling on the top range.
Right.
And all of that fit together throughout the whole film, even though it's two different things going on. So like your brain's kind of getting fucked with the whole time because you're still hearing the stuff that's happening in front of you. Like you're still hearing them walk around. You're still hearing them talk.
Oh, yeah.
But you're also
Deliberately.
hearing this low,
Right.
like, you know, scary shit, and then this really high-end scary shit, and sort of all comes together, and it sounds full as fuck, and you're really kind of scared.
And so so they do that and they pull it off, and then they're going to show you somebody walking around their house turning the lights off. The whole so
Yeah.
I told you that part was scary. I told you.
Right. But to pull
I don't
it
know
off,
why it's so scary.
To pull that off is just fucking amazing, right?
I think it's because they combine such a thing that we all love to do, right? Go to bed,
Right.
and it's like so comfortable. You
That
know?
scene gives you like, it's one of the quieter moments in the movie in terms of the background sounds.
Yeah.
And it gives you just a second to think about what he's thinking about, because like he's alone in that moment and he is locking his doors. He is so close to so many people that would love to kill him and his family to get out of their situation, right?
Sure.
So like he probably has this underlying thing of fear about where he is. He's like totally bunkering himself down at night.
But then again, does he? Because he has that comment of being like, "I'm just thinking about how I would gas these people and how the ceiling's too high."
I think he does both.
And you're like, what? You know, like this guy is actually
That's
a
his
psycho.
job.
On top of him
but
being but also
Right.
like this is what he's actively thinking about. You know, like, and not being like, it's a little fucked up that like everyone's having fun and I'm thinking about gassing them all.
That's fair.
You know, it's kind of weird. So he was kind of like, you don't know if he's really fearful or if he's just doing the routine that you would do if you had a house.
Well, I think he does.
You know?
So I can kind of, I don't know about relate, but I mean, if you're at a party and you've gotten there because of you're so good at your job, you might in that situation be thinking about how to stay in the higher society and how do you do that, get better at your job. So you might be focusing on what makes you good at your job, which is
but he
how
was
to
talking
most
about
efficiently-
gassing all of the people in the
Right. Well, I think, but he was thinking of
right,
like
but he wasn't really thinking about killing them. He was like, how
thinking
can I
about the
make a more
challenges.
efficient machine?
Yeah, he was like thinking about the challenge of it.
See, my
Oh.
perception was that he was thinking about killing all of them. too.
I didn't.
Because like he's just always thinking about killing people.
maybe.
That's
No, he
how
was
I
just
took
using
it.
a realistic scenario to think like, how could I gas more Jewish people? And like, here's what I'm seeing and how would this work in here? So
'Cause
like I'm
it-
seeing
right.
this number of people, not these specific people, but like this crowd of like grouped in people. This is what I want.
But he also saw
But
it as a
it
challenge.
was talking about, and the way I interpreted it was he was talking about that specific space
Right.
with those specific people.
I agree with the space,
Because
but not the
nobody's
people
getting
part.
gassed in that ball area, right?
Right.
Well,
So it
But
was
he's just
weird
seeing a
that he
large
would
crowd
be-
of people, and he's like, I could do this.
No,
this is
he
a
was
large
saying
room with a lot of people.
This particular room is too high to gas everybody from.
Mm-hmm.
So this wouldn't work.
Well,
if I wanted to gas these people right now, this room wouldn't
Right, but
work.
he was thinking of that as an architectural challenge. So he's like, well, how could I pull
see.
it off? Because it's got this high ceiling. How would I, he's thinking about his job like as an architectural challenge.
See, I didn't totally
Oh,
Right
See,
over
that
my
was
head.
one of the things I got earlier on in the movie is that this movie brings in engineering to Nazis. I'd never once in my life thought about how engineers created these camps. And that was like, as an engineer, that was a crazy thought that all these people are just on the same wavelength with murder camps.
right.
Highly educated people that know what they're doing are building innovative things
Building murder
to
camp.
murder
Yeah,
people
right.
at an accelerated rate. Like that.
Right.
That's insane. Usually,
Like
I mean,
the
it's
stuff that we all do now to be like, let's improve in society. They're like, let's kill these motherfuckers.
Yep.
And it's the same amount of effort they're putting into advancing society as they are destroying it.
it's nuts because usually, I mean,
And think
I'm
about
not
all the
sure if
things they built, and in unintended consequence of that was like some other product that they never saw coming.
Right.
And it like kicked off all this new stuff because they were creating stuff for killing. It's fucking crazy shit. Yeah. It's
They were talking
it's a
about in
mindfuck
the
right
book.
there.
They have these conversations about how after they win the war, then they're going to expand this to the Gypsies and the Slavs, and how that's going to be their way of they're going to be dealing with a number of groups of people this way. This is going to they'll be able to accelerate this process and do it. They're learning a lot here and figuring out how they can do this more efficiently. So yeah,
It's really dark shit.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
scary.
It is.
And the
Hard
thing
to
that-
watch.
Yeah, but I mean, so all of what you're saying is I agree with, but the realism, the way that it portrays like realistic human beings as the bad guy, it's really rare to have like such human bad guys as the bad guys. It's almost like they're boring. They're so human, they're boring in the movie, and yet this guy is in charge of accelerating death rates of people being trained in, and he's so good at it that he gets promoted and all this
Well,
stuff.
he's almost
It's
like a
just-
celebrity,
Right.
in a sense,
And
even though he
they're-
doesn't think of himself that way.
and
He's
they're real
just like a
people
normal
too. These
guy.
people were famous, and they're in the history books. This couple existed, but I mean that the fact that it just, I don't know. There's not very many other movies that I can think of. I think like Downfall is one of them where it kind of shows you a human side of Nazis to an extent, but this one like goes another step to make them like a boring household, really, and that just makes it extra scary. And it goes to a place I've never been before, and like thinking about these people before.
Downfall's a good complement to this because it is not trying to judge them. It's just trying to show what it was like. I mean, it's pretty easy to fucking judge them, but knowing what was happening. But the tone is just like, no, let's just show what happened, and that's bad. You don't need to comment on it. You don't need to make any kind of a judgment or have the film make a judgment. But yeah, oof. Yeah, you're right. Though it's very ordinary lives. The couple getting everything they ever wanted. He worked really hard. He's working his way up in the world. They've got this great house. Oh, there's this painful job decision they've got to make because he's going to relocate, but they don't want to lose this location, so they're going to make this.
And she wants to stay
thing.
because she spent a lot of time in this garden. It used to just be the wall, but now it's this pretty garden she built over the wall, so they can forget about what's going on over there.
Yep. And that they seem to somewhat care about each other, but they're both distant. And certainly he's sleeping with other women. They sort of vaguely allude to it with the guy in the cigarette in the greenhouse, but that's about it. Again, for the wife, that she's maybe sleeping with somebody, but yeah.
Yeah, and there were a couple of really good scenes where they just made casual comments that made it seem like it's not like big decisions that make this stuff happen. It's when you look at history, it's like, oh, it must have been like a huge bunch of really evil people stomping through and creating all this. But it's like these normal people making small decisions about the people that they used to know, like the conversation they had about their friend they used to have, who was a Jewish person, and she was in the camp. And instead of being like, oh my God, that sucks for our friend, they were like, oh, she must have been up to something. That's why she's in the camp. They wouldn't have put her in the camp if it wasn't justified, that sort of thing. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think about this stuff very frequently, and a lot of this stuff they pushed forward in this movie was like, terrifying throughout. What else you got, John?
Yeah, I guess it is another kind of, so you got the art house film, you've got the historical piece, and then they just make this kind of a 400 blows like normal everyday life thing. And acting is great. to do that. They're just being normal. They're not
Sandra
being normal.
Huller again.
Yeah.
Right? She was in the Palme d'Or and the Grand Prix winner
Right? I
this
wonder
year.
if that's a first.
Pretty good.
Right? Yeah. Again, really good. And yeah.
What did you think about the ending with the flash forward?
I was a little thrown at first. Yep. I didn't quite. It took me a while to figure out is this we are forward now, and it is an interesting choice. I'm not sure what I think about it. I was sort of like, by that time I was pretty wiped out. I think.
Yeah, I would say that I probably only watched 35% of it.
Yeah. So
I just got bored. I got so bored. I got so bored. My ADD kicked in. I stopped being able to pay attention. The sound did get to me over time. You know, I was just. It was like I was being beaten up by the movie. And,
that's right. But in a really quiet, slow way.
In like a really, slow, by a death by a thousand cuts type.
Really slow
Jesus
punches you can't avoid.
Yeah. I know.
I
mean, this is not an accessible movie for most, and probably won't resonate with a lot of Americans. But if they're not living in California or the East Coast, I don't know. It's a tough one. I don't think I'd watch it again. I don't either. Yeah, I don't think I'd recommend it to most. I'd say this is what the movie is. You decide if you want to watch it. There's a really cool trick to see and witness, but I don't know if I'd
I don't know,
necessarily want to watch it from start to finish ever again.
Such an important lesson that people can be horrible and super evil and have no idea. They can be monsters and not know at all. And maybe that could shake some people awake and make them maybe more aware of things going on around. I don't know. So in that sense, it could have an impact. I don't know, though, if those people would even, they would never consider themselves, those kinds of people would never consider themselves that they're bad. So it really wouldn't touch them. But certainly,
because even if you told them they were bad, they'd be like, uh-huh.
Yeah, I guess, right? It's like,
so what? No, it's not bad to me.
Not bad like that.
I mean, think about there's a lot of people that are in any of these wars that are going on right now. There are a ton of people that think like that right now.
Yeah, I know.
Because they have to.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too, is it's self-preservation on at some levels. You're in a situation like, think about the Russian people, right? They're about to be voting for Putin where they warned them. You could show us your patriotism.
That's right.
If you get out there and vote, right?
Yeah,
so, I mean, what do you do there?
Right. I know. And maybe,
I know there's a lot of situations.
You want to live,
right?
Sure.
This is a perfect example of a movie that sort of talks about those complex situations, but isn't really able to nail down what it is that we all have to face when we're in those situations where we're not in control of how we live, basically. I
guess it's fair. It's a fair way to put it too. I don't know. It's such an extreme case. You think maybe some people could watch it and wonder if they're the baddies too, but maybe not.
Yeah, but it's not. Are we the baddies?
No one's ever come to that realization. It's too hard of a realization to come to, I think.
Are we the baddies?
We've got these skulls on our uniforms.
One of the best skits ever.
It's great.
Mitchell and Webb look. If you haven't seen it, see it.
I missed that show.
What Denny?
Can you still get that show somewhere?
I'm sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably Netflix.
Might.
What did you think of the flash forward, Denny? How did that hit you?
It kind of made me think like this was a historical document sort of thing. Like it kind of put it in context of history, and what it kind of made me feel like what I just watched was real, sort of. Just by hopping to a museum being vacuumed in present day. Like it was like this is where this guy was standing way back in the 40s or whenever, like early 40s or whenever it was supposed to be. Uh-huh. And here it is, this building still stands and we're preserving it to remember that sort of thing. It just kind of like, it did seem like a jump, but it kind of like, it was the end of the movie too, so I was fine with it, but it was kind of just like what you just watched was real. Like it seemed real and it was real.
Right.
And that's what happened.
And they're still not showing you the actual things, but they're going further and showing you more of the physicality of it, like seeing the shoes, the scope of it, which you still don't get to see in the rest of the film. But they're still not going to show you the actual people. the actual horror of it. But they're
But
going
they're
to
going
show
to give you
you
a sense of how many there were.
right. They're going to
and
show you
it's,
some of their, like just showing you the big pile of shoes, because that's something mentioned more in the book, but actively, as it was actively happening, like the big piles of shoes and clothes and everything, as people were like what they call go through selection, meaning that the people that are going to go work and everybody else gets gassed, or burned, or gassed and burned. I don't know how it all works, but
or turned into a prostitute.
Yeah, or whatever. But and to have it to decide it's going to be while they're cleaning. Again, I think maybe because there's a lot of sounds there for that, a lot of natural sounds. So you're sort of like still having this.
It's just more boring stuff.
Maybe,
it's just like we're still in the future and they're
Right.
vacuuming. It's still just regular human stuff.
I guess so, right.
This is what we do as humans.
That's really good. You're right. Here are all these people cleaning up the Holocaust Museum, boss.
Yep.
That's what I'm doing now.
Yep.
Boring.
Still got to
my
do
job.
it. Still
Yeah.
got
Gotta do
to
it.
still have a job, and it still doesn't matter.
That's a fair
This is
point.
the scariest place ever. Like one of the worst things to ever happen, and you have regular people vacuuming and
There's
they're bored.
guy like mopping or sweeping up like inside like one of the, I don't know if that's like one of the furnaces or what, but inside a really terrifying looking place. Yeah. Ugh. You're right.
Yeah.
It's like it's a good point. It's like, yeah, here's just sort of more mundane life. Now that mundane life is happening after it's all gone and people are cleaning this up. Yeah. Wow. It's just yeah.
And I did like the way the movie felt too, in terms of, I don't know what the zone of interest means, but they did talk about zones within the camp, but this movie kind of felt like one of the so you had the sound going on in the background, but also it felt like it was in a fixed location. Like the entire movie played out within a fixed location for the most part. We did go to the party towards the end and he was in that corridor at the end, but really most of it was like at their house on their property in their backyard. And it seemed like all of the cameras were like security cameras almost. Like they didn't move. There was nothing flashy going on there. It seemed voyeuristic. It seemed like we were just we had like a drone over this land or something, and we were just spying on these people living their lives. So it seemed just like the movie was it like that added to the realism. Like all this stuff was going on all around, and what we're watching is this one space during this like short period of time. And that's what the movie is. So then you can go watch it, be bored, be scared, watch these people walk around their house. That's what this movie is. There's screaming going on over there. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Give me awards.
Take the family. But the zone of interest, by the way, is it's the whole area around Auschwitz that they sort of served as a buffer zone, that they were going to kind of keep like the rest of the population away, but also they were going to they're making it a community to sort of be an ideal
the suburbs,
community, kind of. Yeah.
The German suburbs.
Yeah.
So it was all Germans that lived in the zone of interest?
Yeah. And then that was kind of a buffer zone against the occupied territories and stuff like that were outside. And it was all like going to be like this ideal sort of repopulation, and then they would have education and stuff, and maybe they would be able to educate
for who?
For the Germans or the kids that are coming up. But they're wanting to take over these territories, right? It's not just going to be Germans, but they aren't killing everybody. They're just killing mostly the Jews and such. So there's these other populations of these countries they're invading and stuff. So they are going to make it sort of an ideal community, and they're going to have schools and things like that, and indoctrination and whatnot. I don't know all the details, but
so this wasn't just at Auschwitz. This was at any camp they had as like these surrounding.
The zone of interest specifically refers to the one at Auschwitz. So maybe, but maybe there might have been other ones, and with a similar pattern. I don't know about that though. But if you look up like what zone of interest is, you can kind of see it, and there's a map and everything on Wikipedia.
God, they had fucking city planning going on. How boring is that? Jesus.
Well, yeah, it is like that. It's like other than like we're dealing with the Jews, and then we're just kind of gonna have this idyllic place, and we're gonna like fulfill our destiny and whatnot. And you just got this problem where there's a lot of logistics here that we got to figure out. Which is, boy, that's a lot of work. But hey, it's a living, I guess. But again, it's just that's the attitude around it, which is it's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, the chilling scene
it's a tough one
about them in the room talking about the cylinder approach to the rotating cylinder.
Oh, I
approach to
know.
the
That
furnaces,
was
right?
it took me a second to figure out what the hell he was talking about until he like showed the little thing in the compartment, and I was like, oh, fucking hell.
It's like you can just
I mean, also, I hate to admit it, I was like, that's a pretty good idea. I mean, I'm not going to
burn more people that way. You got to appreciate the ingenuity.
He's working efficiently. There's no doubt about that. Wow, this is some fucked up shit.
Yeah, you guys want to get into some trivia?
Yes,
Sure.
let's do, because hopefully fun, wacky,
one last
bonkers escapades on set.
I wanted to say, have you guys seen The Act of Killing documentary movie?
Is
No.
that the one where they go and they interview all the different people who've done these horrible war crimes and they brag about what they did?
It's the one.
Reenact some of it.
Well, yeah, he goes. It's like in Indonesia, and he pretends like he's making a movie to recreate what they did, but really it's like a covert documentary on all these people. So they brag about what they did, and it ends. Spoilers for the Act of Killing, with one of the guys realizing what he did by basically the director of the documentary put him in like the wire neck thing. They used to like just strangle people one after the other, and he puts him in one. And the guy feels the fear and realizes what he did to hundreds of people, and he starts like dry heaving on the spot, and that's the end of the movie. And that's what this reminded me of, and kind of in a distracting way, to be honest. Because I mean, it would be really effective to have that kind of like restrained sickness be the ending of this guy's character in this movie, but I don't know. I got distracted. I was like, oh, they could have ripped off this other thing.
I guess so. I didn't quite know what they were going for with that either. I mean, he was seeing a doctor, and I don't know.
I think he made himself sick with all the gassing talk that he just did.
Yeah,
I think.
Maybe. Yeah.
Was it that?
I wasn't sure.
I wasn't sure either.
At all.
Yeah. I thought maybe he just had cancer or something. It
Yeah,
was like,
that's what I was
even when you're
thinking.
the one being evil, you can still die.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what it was.
But I wasn't sure.
Maybe I put an assumption in there because I watched The Act of Killing, and that's what popped into my head.
Maybe.
I thought it was the same kind of thing, but I could be wrong.
I don't know about
I
it.
thought,
Yeah, I
he
didn't
just
know
was
what to make
getting
of that
sick.
one. Yeah.
Or he was getting sick from fumes nearby, or
he shows,
who knows, you know?
He shows so little. I mean, he's so cold throughout the whole film. So it's kind of hard to. You're right. He does seem, when he's talking with his wife, and he's feeling kind of like, I think he's feeling like a little odd that's what he was thinking about, the way he talks. Maybe he is just, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But it was hard. It's hard to interpret. It was so subtly done. I'm not sure I don't know what the heaving was. If he really was like getting upset with himself, if it was psychological, or if I assumed, since we saw him at the doctor's, I thought he was getting sick. I thought he was going to like drop dead and die right there or something, because the way he was
That's fair too.
The way he was coughing didn't really sound. I don't know did it sound like the Killing dry heaving? I don't know what that kind of.
It did.
That kind
Is that
of.
like it a lot.
typically how they sound when they die like
Is
that?
that
When
know.
mass murderers get a little pukey? Is that what it sounds like?
Is that what it sounds like when you realize you're a mass murderer?
I think it does.
I don't know.
They hit the nail on the head with that one. Jonathan Glazer hasn't made a movie since 2014. He did Under the Skin. You guys ever heard of that movie?
I've heard of that.
No.
And
Had
it's
a lot of press when it
really
came out.
weird one with Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. That movie was also made over a long period of time. I think they were filming some guerrilla style shots with Scarlett Johansson back in the mid-aughts, and it made like headlines, and the movie still didn't come out for like 8 years after that happens. They shot a lot of it in hidden cameras. They did stuff in that movie, like they found real people on the streets, and then they brought them into the movie if their kind of candid camera footage was good enough, so it would like make sense within the movie. A lot of weird stuff in that movie, pretty art house. And then it took him forever to make this one. He knew about this book before it was published. He optioned the rights to it like immediately as soon as it was available. And this started in 2015. So he's been working to make this movie since 2015.
How about how just like he's just like, you know, one of those guys like trademarking it, copywriting it, got the thing down. He's like, this is absolutely happening. It's just maybe not today, but I'm gonna get this.
Maybe
done.
not in the next 10 years, but it's gonna happen,
right? Like, but that's pretty sick. Like, it's like a businessman plus an artiste, you know?
Yeah. And I'm not sure how much of a businessman he is. I think he's definitely an artist, and he has people backing him because they know he's he's really driven. If you listen to the guy talk, he's so deep in this topic right now, especially when he's talking about it, but he's obsessed basically. And he's talented at filmmaking. The ideas about the sound, about creating two movies, the ideas of, the way they did the cameras is they had 10 hidden cameras in the house, and they filmed 10-minute takes at a time with the actors. There was no director, no sound guys, no nothing. They had all the sound guys in the basement of this house recording everything. They had hidden microphones everywhere too, more than 10. And then they had the entire like director team and all those other people in a container like across the way, like outside the house. So the actors were in the house by themselves, 10 minutes at a time, and that's all the in the house footage.
Did they play horrific sounds while they were acting, or were they acting without them?
They didn't have any sounds at all until after they shot the inside the house stuff, which the actors kind of appreciated because they wanted to play it normally. Part of the
I guess so, right?
Part of the reason of the movie is they're playing
that's
it
fair,
normal.
That's fair, right? Yeah,
sort of,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
They're not reacting to the sounds.
Right. They would have flinched with gunshots and stuff or whatever, right?
Yeah. So they did it separately, intentionally.
Yeah.
And they made the sound movie, the second film is what they called it, the sound only second. And they had a 6,000-page document on all these stories that were researched and that happened in Auschwitz to pull from. And the sound designer spent years and years collecting a sound library of, like, they actually paid money to reenact these things and record the sound for them. Jesus. So they actually like were making these sounds. I mean, obviously you have to as you think about it, but like they were, all those sounds you hear, they're shooting that. They're like setting up these scenes that they researched and they happened, and they're recording it audio only as they have these actors and sound effects like do all of this stuff.
Wow. So they're like in the studio reading about something and they're like, all right, act that out.
Yep. And they wrote the dialogue for a lot of it. They like, they got old guns to do a lot of it. They researched it. He didn't want to recreate the atrocities. He said there was enough movies to show that sort of thing out there. He just wanted to, keep it on the other side of the wall. He visited the camps in researching this. He read like all of the books on the Holocaust. This house exists. These two people, like the man and wife here, they're real people, and their house exists. It's just a regular residence now, but it's in Poland. It's right outside Auschwitz. And since people live in it, they didn't want to recreate that one. They found a house that looked the exact same against that wall area as well, a few houses down, and rebuilt that one.
That's probably for the best for that family that lives in the other house.
But it was basically in the exact same spot this house was in. And the house was built to the exact specifications that the house was previously. So like dead on accurate. That's what you're looking at. That's how it looked back then. No artificial lighting. All the lighting was, real lighting, like from lamps and stuff like that. They didn't have any set lighting in this movie to kind of make it look not flashy, to add to the realism to it. They called it the Big Brother in the Nazi house. That was their nickname of the house set. Oh, wow. Hilarious. The actors improvised a lot in those 10-minute takes. The actors talked about how they were focused 100% of the time as opposed to other movies because they know that all shots they were in when they were acting in the house, they had multiple angles. Right. They didn't know what shot the director was going to use afterwards. They didn't have like, normal movies. It's like, all right, we're going to have the back of your head in this shot for the entire day. Right. So you can just stand there the whole day, just the back of your head, relax. This one, it's like any second they could be using your reaction. So you're pretending to be an evil Nazi, and you have to do it 100% of the time for this entire shoot. And that what the actors were doing, their direction was to search for normality and banality. That was what they were trying to find. In this situation, try to find
just dullness,
something normal,
like everyday life, sort of.
So the main Nazi guy, he complained about how he had to go to 2 Christmases with that haircut. That's how long they shot this movie for.
Oh, wow.
It's got to suck. They're like, still with the Nazi movie, huh? He's like, yep, they're still filming it.
It's just a movie. It's just a movie. I'm in a movie here. I just still in the movie.
It's like, wow, that haircut, just a buzz cut above the ear, really makes you look like a Nazi. I don't know what it is about that haircut.
I know. Can't say why, but yeah.
No, he wears a T-shirt. Not a real Nazi. Nazi in a movie.
Making a movie.
I just played this on TV. Yeah.
The sound designer was also the sound designer for Poor Things.
Oh, damn.
Good year for that dude.
Be damned. Wow, yeah.
His name is Johnny something. They called him
Oh,
Johnny.
Johnny something. Typical
Johnny.
audio guy. Nobody knows his name.
Yeah. He's like,
He's great. He has an Oscar now. His name is
Oh,
Johnny.
I
He's got no
got a
last
guy.
name.
It's Johnny. He's Johnny something. I don't know.
He's
the
like
most,
Madonna or
he's the
Beyonce.
most accomplished sound guy ever. Johnny something.
Sounds, I think, is his
No.
name. Johnny
Sound, I don't know.
Johnny Mix. I don't remember.
They had a score written and then they cut it all.
Oh, good for them.
Oh.
That wouldn't have worked.
Yeah,
No, it didn't need it.
Yeah.
no, and it would have. Yeah, I mean, they already had. It would have taken over their awesome second movie that they were
Yeah,
putting.
they
on top
have
of the first
all of
movie.
the sounds. The sound is all taken up.
Yeah.
There's no more space left.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I wonder if it was more like a functional thing like that, as opposed to like, I wonder if this will work. Maybe
Yeah,
they were
no,
like,
I'm
there's
sure
no
it
room
was.
in the mix.
It got to the mix stage, and they were like, "We can't do this. If you want
Yeah.
sound, if you want either one or the other, you can't have the rumbling low end
Can't
and
have
the
three.
low end of the
You
score.
can have two.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can't have three.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So
The library he built was insane. He recorded it over 1.5 years. And what he did is he actually so some of it was found sound as well. He went to places where people screamed, and some of the screaming was just people screaming.
screaming. Right.
Yeah.
Go to
Crowds
psych
of
ward or
people,
something.
all that stuff. Yeah.
There's probably
Top
a lot of
250.
screaming sounds you can layer too.
No, he
online.
did all original library. That's why he got the Oscar TC. All original. Nothing off online. He had his own private library that he has saved and probably backed up in the cloud somewhere, ready to work on his next movie.
Yeah.
He's the guy with all the screams? Yeah, I got the screams. Oh, yeah.
I'm a
You can hop
scream
on
guy.
this one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, Johnny
yeah.
Screams. That's what your name was.
You just won an
I
Oscar,
thought
didn't you?
so.
Good for you, bud.
Yeah.
Sound
Johnny
designer.
screams.
Let's say his name. It's Johnny Byrne.
Johnny
That's his
Byrne.
name.
Johnny Byrne? Come on, that's
Yeah.
even better.
I know.
I
Mr.
love that.
Byrne.
Let's
Yeah,
say his
Mr.
name.
Byrne.
All right.
Johnny Byrne. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great job,
Top 250.
Yeah.
I'm going yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'll never watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And you'll never watch the whole thing. You go 35%, and that's
exactly.
enough.
That's exactly right. That is exactly
That's
right.
all you need. Are we going back to the list? No, we're not.
Oh
We're
my
doing
God.
fucking Point Break next week. Fuck
Oh
yeah.
my God, Point Break. All right.
What is next on the list anyway?
Johnny
I don't even know.
Utah. Oh, it's been so
Johnny
long.
Utah, right?
Johnny
Johnny Byrne to
Utah.
Johnny Utah. That's what
That's
we're
it.
doing today, folks.
The list. What was the last movie we did? Oh, damn. We're pretty far up there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So we're at 28. We just did Spirited Away, which is 29. Just
Right,
did.
right.
3-4 months ago. Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh, that'll be fun.
1968. Henry Fonda, Charles Bronson.
Cool.
All right. But we're going to do Point Break.
We are.
'Cause I won
You
the Oscar
won
thing.
and you can do whatever you want. And this is what you
right.
want.
And
Point
this is,
Break
I
it
want to make
is,
you guys
folks.
happy. So that's what it is. We're all
Yeah.
going to be happy.
I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. All right.
Don't know what you're doing, guys. Yeah. It's Keanu for like 50 minutes. Yeah, anyways. Point Break, baby.
Yeah.